Hi, everyone. I'm Imaad Mohammad, Head of Product at Workforce Solutions Australia. And joining me is the Head of Employer Services at Workforce Solutions, Sarah Moorehouse. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Imaad.
Great to see you.
Yes, thank you so much for letting me join.
Can you tell us a little bit about your role and what you've been working in the last couple of years?
Absolutely, with pleasure. So my responsibility as Head of Employer Services for Workforce Solutions is to really take the brilliant product that you and the team have crafted, the Verification Exchange, and really position it with employers in the Australian market to make sure they really understand the true value of the product, not only from a risk perspective, but also the value that it can add to their employees and them as a business.
Great. Today we would be discussing a little bit about the automated income and employment verification solution in today's market and the need for it. So if I can start, in today's digital world, we actually see that every lender or entity is sort of trying to digitalize or automate, their verification processes and optimize their workflow. And you've been working a lot with the employers, as you mentioned. Why, in your view, there is a need to move away from the existing use of payslips?
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right in terms of automation and digitization. I think it's two of the most common words included in a business strategy at the moment. What we've identified through bringing this product to the Australian market is that through that process of automation and digitization, there's actually a gap when it comes to the sharing of PII, so the most sensitive information. And if you combine that with the fact of every day we're hearing more and more about bad actors, criminals in the market that are looking to ascertain this information and mishandle it. So if you combine the target of organizations plus a gap that we've identified that flows down into Australians wanting to get finance and the means in which exists today to validate that. So the process that is typical today is that organizations will have a payroll system in place and employee self-serve. So what that means is they'll log in, they'll download payslips as per the requirements of the financial lenders. Now that could be your brokers, your aggregators, through to your top end of town and everything in between. But they'll require evidence of employment income. And I've done it myself, downloaded these documents from an internal system and then shared them via email, or even I've done it at a coffee shop thinking back. But if we combine that with, as I mentioned, the criminal activity around this data, and the need for organizations to really protect that, automate and digitize these processes, we've got such a perfect entry point that really covers and blocks that level of risk, and at the very least really mitigates it and takes it off the plate for something to consider. What we're doing is really getting sensitive data to safe harbor, which is so fundamental.
Totally agree with you, Sarah. So what are some of those questions that, the employers must ask themselves, while helping to conduct such verification calls?
Well, that's the thing as well, particularly giving the verification that needs to take place and also sometimes the amount of the lend and the requirements that are on lending institutions to prove that they have responsibly checked this information. This can mean that employers have to facilitate requests. Now, that could be requests from financial institutions for statements of service, employment letters, or it could be internal requests from employees calling up typically payroll teams, or it could be HR teams to say, can you please answer this question, or expect a call from X, Y, and Z. So some of the considerations that employers need to think about is, who is calling? Are they who they say they are? If someone's saying they're ABC Bank, how do they know they're ABC Bank? And do they have an Australian credit license? People are getting really, really savvy at impersonating. In addition to that, before sharing information, do they have consent to? Has the employee authorized that? That's a gap. And if they need to then go internally to ascertain that information, that adds time to this process. And then there's the area of inadvertent disclosure. So say they've gone through the process, they know that ABC Bank is exactly who they say they are. Yes, they have consent to share the information. How much is too much? What is oversharing and what is undersharing? These are all things that fall to an individual who typically it's not their primary job to facilitate these requests. And it's often urgent, needed right now. And, we don't know the reasons people need finance, particularly as hopefully we're coming out of COVID and we're post-COVID. People have been impacted differently. And so their ability to access finance, whatever they need, shouldn't really have these blockades.
That's right. I mean, all valid questions that you mentioned. I mean, something that I think would be on each employee's mind. We know that Equifax Verification Exchange brings a very unique solution to the market. Can you tell us a little bit about the objective of this solution and how are we positioning it to the employers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think overall, if we look at the purpose of what we're doing with Verification Exchange as a team, as a key business in Verification Exchange, we're looking to make the process safer when it comes to the validation of employment income for financial lending. That is our mission, that is our purpose and what we're doing. Now, in terms of the proposition to employers in particular and what that means, we're mitigating risk that they may not be aware exists in their organizations. I mentioned earlier that employees may self-serve and some organizations go, yeah, cool, sufficient. But again, it's having that process to get data from a desktop where they've downloaded a payslip to a secure, safe, authorized landing spot where it should go. And that's the gap that exists. And so we're able to plug that gap. But really importantly, we do it in a way that does not impact, only contributes to the current working environment. There are no additional steps. It's automated. It's not manual. And it enables them to give back to their employees and actually feeds into that speed to decision making, which actually stems through to financial well-being, which is, I think, one of the pillars of benefits that's really starting to develop. We think about mental health, we think about physical health, but there's also financial well-being. So I think if we look at those key areas, so that risk mitigation, contributing to financial well-being, but then also at the forefront, keeping the employee in control of their data. So this model is completely driven by the employee. No consent, no access. So at all times, although this is a safe way of sharing it and it's automated, nothing happens without their consent. Nothing will get shared to the financial institution, third party, broker, whomever it may be.
Absolutely. And I know you touched base on this, a little while back. In terms of data privacy and data protection, it's at the center of every solution, right?
Oh my God, yes.
How does verification? Yeah. So how does Verification Exchange sort of protect the employee data in the whole process of conducting income verifications?
Yeah,
if you can expand a little bit more, please.
Yeah, of course. And you are so right. And Equifax know this. We are one of the largest data custodians in Australia. And so data security and protection of that data has to be in our DNA and the core of everything we do. That's flowed through to the Verification Exchange and part of why we brought the solution to the Australian market when we did. What we've made sure is that it's a robust solution that does align with the Australian privacy principles. And so from an employer's perspective, the sharing of the data to enable this risk mitigation process falls in line with the APPs and specifically APP 5 around employee record. So in the same way that an organization may be using a payroll system, well, they will be using a payroll system or a HR system to provide a safe, compliant way of protecting data, but fulfilling a service. This aligns with that exactly. And we've made sure that it really does stand up. In addition to that, not only around the Australian privacy principles, but you've got the additional layers that add to that. So, for example, the security. So everything about this solution is Australian. Me, you, the infrastructure, where it sits, and any of the support around it. So it's entirely onshore. but also has the beautiful complement of your ISO 27001 certifications, your SOC 2 Type 1, SOC 2 Type 2, due any day now. So we've made sure that, yes, employers can utilize this with confidence that protects data, confidence that it's robust and stands up, and that they've got the added benefit of Equifax knowing how to manage data like this.
That is excellent. I can read a lot of benefits, along the entire process, be it, the employers or the employees, and even the verifying entities that are trying to do the income verification. What are some of the key benefits that you would want to hone on and just highlight as part of the solution?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess one of the benefits is it's available for everybody. So what I mean by that is, if we think of some of the unique organizations in Australia and some of the unique arrangements, FIFO workers, we've got such a mix of casual contractor workers all throughout. This solution is there for everybody, regardless of what employment status that you have. And it gives the ability to consolidate all of the information, make sure it's encrypted, shared when you want it to be, but really is there so there's not that back and forth. So it really comes down to ease of data sharing, not oversharing, absolutely protected data, and driven by consent. So really, the employer doesn't need to get involved in this process at all. It's between the employee and their financial institution, and it's beautifully automated.
Thank you. That was a very insightful brief on the Equifax Verification Exchange solution. Anything you would like to close off with?
Absolutely. So in terms of our proposition to the market, we've spoken about the value add, but something I should really include is that we've made a conscious decision that this is being offered to our Australian partners at no cost. So it's something that we recognise the gap in the market. We recognise where we can support businesses and also those individuals, particularly at the employees level. But as you mentioned, we also work with the financial institutions, as we call verifiers. So it really is a well-rounded solution that really is looking to get a market mind share and shift us forward into ways that we can really hone into something that is a gap and make the process safer for all, whilst being able to give back and really position ourselves as a true partner.
Yeah, and I see this solution sort of not only working in the financial and banking space, but also any other area where there is a need to verify somebody's employment and income, whether it's in the property market or it could be, in some of the other areas, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the brilliant thing about it. We've started in the financial market because we know that's the highest, industry where transactions of this nature go through. I know that's probably the highest area. But then absolutely, the rental market, there's so many different use cases. So I guess by getting employers on board now, as we continue to grow and develop, they're going to be on that growth path with us. And so the value to them and their employees and that level of protection and risk mitigation is only going to grow. There's reforms that have got submissions in place relating to the Privacy Act. Lots of the language and suggestions that have come out are talking about safe mechanism of data transfer. And with the change of government, look, that might come through, it might not come through, but it seems already the right people are asking the right questions and demanding this from the market to actually put it into legislation. So I think that combined with our product roadmap and where we see the value add, it's going to be really quite exciting. And already many of our partners have embedded this on both sides, the financial side of the verifiers as well as the employers. They've just embedded it as part of their process in BAU, and something nice to have off the list.
Absolutely. It sounds very interesting. And I think this solution would be a game changer going forward. It was really a pleasure having a chat with you. And Sarah, I hope you all the best in the
Thank
future.
You so much.
We'll catch up sometime soon.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.